As we're well aware, the conflict in the Middle East persists, and the recent Iranian attack on Israel has only heightened tensions.
In the skies over the Middle East and Israel over the weekend, modern warfare played out high above the earth.
More than 300 projectiles were launched.
The major escalation in the Middle East. U.S. officials confirming that Iran has launched drones and missiles toward Israel, following through on its vow to retaliate for the deadly bombing of its consulate in Syria 12 days ago.
A fiery display of Iran's aerial might choreographed for maximum effect.
Where Israel's military says it will retaliate after Iran and its proxies launched an attack of missiles and drones over the weekend. Iran was responding after a suspected Israeli airstrike hit an Iranian consulate in Syria earlier this month.
While the unresolved conflict between Russia and Ukraine continues to simmer, given the current geopolitical instability worldwide, it's no surprise that concerns about the onset of World War III are mounting. History teaches us that war inflicts immense losses on all parties involved, particularly civilians who often bear the brunt of such conflicts. But unfortunately, we have little control over the outbreak of war, and in the event of a third world war, one might wonder if there are any safe havens left. To address this question, let's consider 10 countries that could offer safety if World War III were to occur. First on the list is Iceland. In the event of a global conflict, Iceland may emerge as one of the safest countries to reside in. Geographically, Iceland enjoys significant advantages that could shield it from the direct effects of war. Its remote location acts as a buffer, reducing the likelihood of direct involvement in conflicts. Furthermore, Iceland has a long-standing tradition of neutrality, diminishing the risk of being dragged into wars. The country's heavy reliance on renewable energy sources such as geothermal and hydroelectric power minimizes its dependence on imported fossil fuels, which could be disrupted during wartime. Moreover, its robust fishing industry ensures food security. Notably, Iceland maintains no standing army, and even its police force operates without firearms, which, while appearing as a vulnerability, actually reduces its strategic value as a target and lessens the likelihood of provoking aggression. Next is New Zealand, another potential sanctuary if World War III erupts. Situated far from the Middle East, New Zealand's remote island location in the South Pacific provides a considerable buffer from potential conflict zones. This geographical isolation reduces the risk of direct military engagement. For perspective, the distance between New Zealand and Israel is approximately 16,000 kilometers, a substantial deterrent for any potential aggressor. The ballistic missile believed to have the longest range at the moment is Russia's RS-28 Sarmat, nicknamed Satan II. It's believed to have a range of up to 18,000 kilometers, certainly capable of reaching New Zealand. However, what are the chances that Satan II would be fired at New Zealand, considering its considerable distance from the conflict zone and the lack of necessity to target it with ballistic missiles? Additionally, New Zealand's stability and self-sufficiency bolster its safety. With a strong democracy and a stable political system focused on diplomacy and peaceful conflict resolution, New Zealand is less likely to be embroiled in international disputes. Its robust agricultural sector and abundant natural resources, including water and geothermal energy, ensure self-sufficiency and reduce dependence on imports that could be disrupted by war. The third country on our list of potential sanctuaries in the event of World War III is Ireland, primarily due to its neutral stance. Ireland has a long history of neutrality and is not aligned with any major military alliances like NATO. This neutral position significantly reduces the likelihood of direct involvement in conflicts, especially if they remain regional. Ireland's strong agricultural sector further contributes to its resilience. As one of the world's fastest-growing dairy producers, with over 18,000 dairy farmers, tending to approximately 1.55 million dairy cows, Ireland's food self-sufficiency would be crucial in a global conflict, where food supply chains could be disrupted. While not as geographically isolated as Iceland or New Zealand, Ireland's position on the western edge of Europe still provides some distance from potential conflict zones in the Middle East. The next country on the list is undoubtedly Switzerland. If you're wondering why, its ironclad neutrality hardly needs questioning, does it? Switzerland boasts a long and esteemed history of neutrality, dating back to the early 19th century. This neutrality, enshrined in its constitution and fiercely defended, greatly reduces the likelihood of Switzerland being embroiled in international conflicts, particularly those far from its borders. Remarkably, Switzerland managed to maintain its neutrality, even during both World War I and World War II, escaping invasion by its neighbors. But despite its neutrality, Switzerland maintains a formidable military, ranked 43 strongest out of 145 countries by Global Firepower Index. The Swiss Alps, dominating much of the country, also serve as a natural fortress against invasion. The rugged terrain, including key infrastructure like bridges and tunnels, could be easily disabled, further deterring access. Switzerland also boasts an extensive network of bomb shelters and fallout shelters, with approximately 2,300 large public shelters, strategically located throughout the country. These shelters, along with numerous private ones mandated by building codes, are designed to protect the population from conventional and nuclear attacks, potentially accommodating the entire Swiss population. Impressive, isn't it? The fifth country, with the potential to become the safest, if World War III erupts in the Middle East, is Indonesia. One reason is Indonesia's geographical and topographical advantages. Positioned far from the potential conflict zone, Indonesia's archipelagic nature with thousands of islands could complicate large-scale invasion attempts if there's any. Moreover, Indonesia's strong agricultural sector provides a degree of food self-sufficiency, crucial during wartime, while its vast sea area supports reliance on the fisheries sector if international trade supplies are disrupted by war. Additionally, Indonesia's rich natural resources such as oil and gas could be valuable assets during global conflict. Next, at number 6 on our list, is Bhutan. Geographical location remains a key determinant for avoiding conflict, and Bhutan benefits greatly from its position. Nestled in the Himalayas between India and China, Bhutan enjoys significant geographical isolation from the Middle East, reducing the likelihood of direct military engagement. Furthermore, Bhutan's lack of significant resources diminishes its appeal as a target for invasion. With a long history of neutrality and no involvement in major military alliances, Bhutan remains distanced from potential conflicts. At number 7, we have Costa Rica, one of the safest countries if World War III erupts in the Middle East. The main reason lies in Costa Rica's status as a neutral nation. With a long-standing history of neutrality enshrined in its 1948 constitution, Costa Rica took the significant step of disbanding its military in 1949, redirecting resources toward education, healthcare, and diplomacy. This staunch commitment to neutrality reduces the risk of entanglement in international conflicts. Its extensive history of neutrality and diplomatic focus could position it as a potential mediator in a global conflict, offering additional protection. Furthermore, Costa Rica leads in sustainable practices, with a substantial portion of its energy derived from renewable sources such as hydropower and geothermal. In fact, 78% of the country's electricity production comes from hydropower, with an additional 15% from geothermal sources, significantly reducing dependence on imported fossil fuels that could be disrupted during wartime. Next, at number 8 on the list, is Chile. One clear advantage stems from South America's considerable distance from potential conflict zones in the Middle East. This geographic isolation reduces the likelihood of direct military engagement. Moreover, Chile's expansive geography, stretching over 4,200 kilometers along the western coast of South America, creates a natural barrier. The formidable Andes Mountains along its eastern border and the Pacific Ocean on the western side add layers of isolation. Unlike many South American countries, Chile boasts diverse climates within its borders, offering options for establishing refugees depending on specific wartime threats. Additionally, Chile is rich in natural resources such as copper, lithium, and nitrates, crucial for various industries including technology and renewable energy. Its location at the southern tip of South America also gives it control of the strategic shipping route around Cape Horn, potentially increasing its importance if major shipping lanes are disrupted by war. Moreover, Chile possesses a well-equipped and well-trained military compared to other South American nations, serving as a deterrent to potential aggressors and providing defense capabilities in the event of an attack. Next on the list at number 9 is Uruguay, another of the safest countries if World War III were to occur in the Middle East. Similar to Costa Rica, Uruguay boasts a long history of neutrality and avoids major military alliances, reducing the risk of involvement in conflicts. While not to the same extent as Costa Rica, Uruguay is making strides in developing renewable energy sources, such as wind and solar power, ranking among the world's top 5 producers of these energies. Uruguay has converted over 98% of its electrical grid to sustainable sources like solar, wind, and hydro, significantly reducing dependence on imported fossil fuels that could be disrupted during wartime. Additionally, Uruguay has a well-developed social safety net providing for basic needs such as healthcare and education, crucial for maintaining order during global conflicts. Although not entirely self-sufficient, Uruguay boasts a strong agricultural sector capable of producing a significant portion of its own food, including meat, dairy, grains, and forestry products. Uruguay is capable of producing these products nearly 10 times the needs of Uruguay's 3.4 million people, ensuring resilience in the face of disrupted food supply chains. The final country that could potentially become one of the safest if World War III breaks out in the Middle East is Fiji, a remote island nation in the South Pacific. This country offers significant distance from potential battlegrounds in the Middle East. This distance naturally reduces the likelihood of direct military engagement, and any attempt to bring the war to Fiji would incur substantial expenses. Much like Indonesia, Fiji is an archipelago comprising over 300 islands. This dispersion of landmass could make a large-scale invasion or occupation more challenging. Similar to Bhutan, Fiji is not a major economic or military power and is unlikely to be a primary target in a Middle Eastern conflict. Additionally, many Fijians practice food self-sufficiency. While not entirely self-sufficient, many engage in subsistence farming, enabling them to grow some of their own food. Furthermore, fishing is integral to many Fijian communities for sustainability, meaning they may be less affected if international supplies are disrupted due to global conflict. And yes, that concludes the list of 10 countries that have the potential to become the safest if World War III actually occurs. It's essential to remember that this analysis is based on current understanding, and the course of a global war is highly unpredictable. Safety cannot be guaranteed anywhere during such a significant conflict. It's also important to note that these rankings are subjective and may vary depending on the source. Which country do you think has the potential to be the safest when a global conflict occurs? Is your country one of them? If so, please state why in the comments section. While waiting for your comments, I'll take my leave.